Hi everyone! The PlayStation 4 has had a great life and it's not over yet, even with the release of its successor. Therefore, do not be upset if you decide to buy PS4 just now. I've compiled a list of the best games for this console, so if you don't know where to start building your PS4 game collection, start right here. I will help you. In this review, you will find a sufficient number of games of a wide variety of genres that are suitable for the whole family, children and adults. However, there are not many of them. I wanted to focus on the very best iconic releases for this platform. Find something to you liking and appreciate it. So sit back, find something to play with and have fun. We are witnessing the end of one of the most impressive era in the gaming industry, marked by many classic games. No one is perfect and there will always be those who are ready to argue with my choice, but I'm ready to defend all the games on this list. Each one is great depending on your mood. But initially I wanted to release the whole video, but it turned out to be very huge, so I divided it into parts. In this part I will tell you about the best shooters and slashers. Okay, shooters, let's go. Control. Control shows us a fascinating, powerful and internally consistent world, but the developers from Remedy Entertainment managed to bring the tension from getting into it without any instructions or hints to an exorbitant level. By the end of the game you will become an expert in this strange reality. There are no fates for the sake of fates here. Everything becomes logical and meaningful as soon as you learn the language of this world. This is truly rare in games where complex stories are often overloaded with unnecessary details and a lot of nuances, which in the end result in nonsense. Control, on the contrary, feels like a masterfully prepared dish, which is served methodically so that you fully feel its taste. Resident Evil 2. The Resident Evil series was born on the PlayStation, and Capcom's latest work in the famous survival horror franchise is half classic and half quite modern video game in the horror genre. In their remake of Resident Evil 2, Capcom took advantage of ingenious solutions from Resident Evil 7 and not just tightened the graphics for the current generation consoles, but completely redesigned the entire game. The developers of the Resident Evil 2 remake in this new version of a very old game have managed almost the impossible. Capcom has filled its stunning sequel with modern mechanics without giving up what was really great in the original Resident Evil 2. The result is a fresh, expensive-looking game that evokes the best memories of the hit from the first PlayStation, but remains generally new. Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is one of the best shooters of recent years. Brutal, loud and spectacular. Watching the execution of Doom tear demons apart is a pleasure, and a large arsenal of weapons and techniques open up space for a flight of imagination in choosing ways to destroy enemies. The fact that it works at 60 FPS on consoles also speaks in favor of the project, which means that the gameplay will be comfortable, pleasant and causing a desire to return to it. Red Dead Redemption 2, the best game about the Wild West and the amazing story of the Dutch Van der Linde gang, living on its last days in a rapidly civilizing America. Here the main character Arthur Morgan will live a short but bright life, showing the player the whole underbelly of the gangster world. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game in which you can spend more than 1 week. First go through a 40-hour story campaign and then go into multiplayer, rob banks, catch criminals and participate in intense duels. Resident Evil 3. After the brilliant remake of Resident Evil 2, Capcom released a reissue of the third part of the series, and it turned out to be the same high quality and dynamic. It should be understood that, like the original Resident Evil 3, the remake is a linear and fleeting adventure, but the game will delight gamers with non-stop action and cinematic scenes, the lion's share of attention in which the main villain, this scoundrel, knows how to cause problems, and believe me, he uses the whole arsenal to dirty tricks to prevent the main character from reaching the final. Uncharted 4. Uncharted is one of the most important PlayStation franchises, and the fourth part of the series has become its crown, an ideal shooter that instantly changes of scenery, throws players into exciting shootouts, and tells a surprisingly lively story. Each of the characters get their own portion of screen time, and the storyline ends exactly as it should. Yes, and the picture in the game is amazing. Mafia Definitive Edition. The first Mafia became a cult in the circles of gamers, who 2 decades ago were amazed by the depth of the study of the plot and the game world, the realizing that he could show within the capabilities of the technologies of those time and memorable characters. The remake developers were faced with the task of not spoiling the original and qualitatively transferring it to a new engine. Well, they coped with this task and also expanded the plot, added a little action throughout boring episodes, and significantly improved the graphics. As a result, Mafia Definitive Edition looks modern and pleases with exciting gameplay. Destiny 2. Destiny 2 took a whole year to earn the status of one of the best games, and after the release of global editions and a number of other changes, she still managed to do it. Destiny 2, which you can play right now, offers a huge amount of available content, insanely interesting quests and challenging raids, and to pad the latter, it is best to team up with friends. Bungie Studio has polished Destiny 2 almost to perfection, and there are simply no problems with finding something to do today. For this, thanks to the daily and weekly raids and events. By the way, another paid content supplement should be released very soon. Destiny 2 is a cooperative shooter, so everything is fine with shooting here. The arsenal includes grenade launchers, swords and bows, each with its own unique features, allowing you to deal with countless mobs in your own way. The game belongs to the type of loot shooters, depends on loot, so collecting unique weapons in raids is no less exciting than shooting it. If you still decided to play Destiny 2, then it is on the PS4 that you will get an invaluable experience. Sony has long signed a partnership agreement with Activision, so some of the new content, weapons, quests, maps remain exclusive for up to a year. GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5. This is unrestrained fun with thefts, raids and criminal chaos, a huge and fully implemented sandbox for bad behavior. Several main characters of Grand Theft Auto 5 allow the series to make significant progress in maintaining the plot for more than 30 hours. The 3 leaders share the same main plot, but they also have their own conflicts, which will eventually become an element of a large picture. The game is structured like a television series, where missions are played as series, and the whole story is played as a season. But in addition to the rich single-player mode of GTA 5, do not forget about the even-growing GTA Online, where you can arrange races with other players, shootouts, plan and carry out robberies, build a criminal empire, and do dozens of other things that are constantly evolving. Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is exactly what the sequel should be. It expands and improves the ideas and potential of fairly voluminous first game. The main principle remains unchanged, a combination of mechs, movement and first-person shooter mechanics from veterans of the studio that created Call of Duty. And thanks to the new development system, the multiplayer has surpassed the first part. And the quality of the Titanfall 2 single-player campaign, the first and the series, was even more unexpected. This is one of the best examples of first-person shooter design in the last 10 years. It happily repeats all the classics from GoldenEye to Half-Life and Unreal, and although there are no special revelations in the plot, it is touching enough to melt the hearts of even the most inveterate skeptics. It is thanks to this combination of elaborate mechanics and plot moves that Titanfall 2 is in many ways superior to its contemporaries. Slashers. Devil May Cry 5. The last part of Capcom's stylish action series is wacky, noisy and spectacular, and at the same time surprisingly solid, embracing a lot of ideas without losing focus at all. Devil May Cry 5 is just exemplary cool. Play as their wild demons killers who fight with their guns, swords, motorcycles and poems in a video game similar to the revived album cover in the style of heavy metal. Devil May Cry 5 presents its aesthetics with such confidence and such deep dedication that it justifies the priority of form our content in design. There are no subtitles here. It's a bloody and imperfect mess of metalcore, but that's what's great. Sekiro Shadow died twice. In the last 10 years, From Software Studio has been creating games of such wild complexity that it was even slightly difficult to explain their popularity. Demon's Souls was followed by the Dark Souls trilogy, which spawned Bloodborne. Each of these games became a new stage in the development of the format, which brought extraordinary developers from Japan closer to mainstream success. And Sekiro Shadow died twice. From Software made a bold move replacing medieval European fantasy and gothic horror with fantasy based on feudal Japan. This is also a development of the format created and popularized by the studio, but there is also something new in the game, a dynamic and rich departure from the free and to some extent esoteric predecessor. It was decided to abandon role-playing classes so everyone plays for the same title character. A variety of weapons and armor from previous games have replaced the skills for use single blade. The plot is simple, not one of those that require reading vague descriptions of objects and watching videos on YouTube in order to understand at least something. Sekiro has become the quintessence of all the best from Software. It is equally beautiful and brutal, and the sweetness of victory is strong enough to justify the irritation of frequent failures. In addition, the game has become an unequivocal proof that From Software is clearly not a one-hit team. Nier Automata. Nier Automata tells a fantastic story about androids who clear the Earth of the robots that occupied it while humanity is on the moon waiting for the opportunity to return to their native home. However, the plot of the game is much deeper than this superficial description, and we suggest that you familiarize yourself with it yourself. You will not be disappointed. In terms of gameplay, this is a furious slasher in which you can use incredible techniques to deal with ordinary opponents and bosses. In addition, Nier Automata gives you beautiful views of an empty planet and a charming soundtrack that you want to listen to separately from the game. Nier Replicant is a prequel to Nier Automata, a remaster of the original Nier Replicant, released only in Japan. The plot of the game is worthy of a separate book or a film adaptation. It's so good. The soundtrack is no less remarkable here, and the visual design does not lag behind. Although the picture cannot be called modern, you are waiting for a semi-open world, creepy enemies in a combat system that combines melee combat with the use of cold weapons and powerful spells used with the support of a mysterious ally of the protagonist. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is an atmospheric, slightly frightening and fascinating slasher from the creators of Enslaved, Odyssey to the West and Devil May Cry. The game plunged gamers into the depth of Celtic mythology and abyss of madness of the main character, offering to challenge the nightmares of an exotic warrior who went to the land of the dead to save her beloved. You won't forget this experience soon, especially if you start playing with good headphones. This part has come to an end, and in the next we will talk about the best adventures games on PS4. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. Thank you.